Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. One. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so you know it really, male figures are not substantially important in the family.
Wait till I had this baby. You got 2 seconds, so I'm swinging first. Wait till I had this baby. He better fuck me better than he did at first. Wait till I had this baby. Finna buy a truck just to jump out. Got 3 cars to jump in, and these bitches looking. Jumped out, they was talking then, got them talking now. Only walking when I walk them down. Shots fired, target hoes. Zussy tight like my Zussy hoe. Rap bitch, I like stripper hoes. Dance bitch on this stripper pole. Got 4 kids, but her body goes. Hood bitch, we the hood hoes. Wait till I had this baby.
Do you think that there's an inevitable conflict in writing about black women that you're going to have with black men?
Oh, absolutely, because you have to write what you see and what you experience. And, you know, unfortunately, the abuse of women is rampant. You know, it's rampant in our society and is rampant in most of the societies that I've ever heard of. So naturally, you know, if I write about having been abused, I have to then say who abused me. And if you are the person who did it, then you're not going to look very good, you know. But there's a wonderful song by Bob Marley called Who the Cap Fit, you know. And so I always feel that if the cap does not fit you, if you have not abused anyone, then you should not feel bad. You should not feel maligned. You should.
Understanding is not going to stop these niggas from hurting us. It is time for black men to face the consequences of their actions.
Cishet men are socialized to believe that women are just tools for their self-actualization.
That when you are the object of a severe trashing, it is not unlike what happens in patriarchal cultures where they mutilate women genitally. I mean, it's as if people try to close your mouth in the same way, although not with thread and needle, that they do in cultures where they infibulate women in order to control them.
I am so lucky to have found a partner who is willing and eager to take an enthusiastic public stance against misogyny. It's not lost on me that I could be laid up with a man who, in his free time, makes videos about how disgusting fat black women are. I could be laid up with a man who tweets obsessively about Applebee's child support. I could be with a man talking about, oh, Kevin Samuels made some point. Like, that's a thing. I could be laid up with a man who sees the 30 plus videos and 80 hours of content and says, oh, I'm just going to stay out of that. That has nothing to do with me, but I'm not. And like, that's the bare minimum of what a good partner should do. Not being a misogynist, not being homophobic, not being transphobic, being protective is like the bare minimum of what a good partner should do. But I know that most people don't have good partners.
And also, I found it very oppressive to have anyone think of me as a person who hated anyone.
Especially men.
Especially anyone. But yes, especially black men.
Yeah, that was what seemed to drive you.
Well, it isn't true. I mean, I just, you know, I've gotten so much of my own courage and strength and everything from black men. And I would never do anything to hurt them. I mean, it is like, it's as if you're saying, you know, you hate your father, you hate your brothers, you hate your nephews, you know, all of that. And this is not true.
Feminists be trying to help y'all. I, as a feminist, am telling you that you are worth more than what's in your wallet. Remember the conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin? Nikki said in that conversation, I'm not looking for a provider. I want a partner. I understand it's not your fault you can't be a provider. So don't take that on me because I didn't even really ask you to do that. It's the manosphere people who are telling men you're not worth shit and you don't deserve shit because you can't pay all the bills. I understand why you can't pay all the bills. Just show up and make my life easier. So you would rather beat yourself up, be mad all the time because you can't fulfill the dictates of normative masculinity when I, being bad feminist, and said, I actually don't even need you to do that. Make this a happy, joyful life. You rather be down on yourself all the time about why you're not a six-figure man. Okay, that's your choice.
So Max, which millionaire lawyer did you get to be your date for the evening?
I don't need anybody by my side.
That's right. Max don't need to play games.
Well, please, she agreed to this. You may as well play along.
She'll appear stronger alone.
She'll appear alone.
Hey!
Girl's got a point.
Max, I strongly suggest you get one of your boy toys over here and have him pretend that he's your steady.
I'm not gonna lie like that for Greg.
Well, now, lie is such an ugly word. I'm simply suggesting that you embellish.
I don't need to. I'm a lawyer. I have a great job. I make a lot of money. And I look great tonight.
There are many ways to live a full life. And, you know, we're raised as young women to think it's marriage, it's kids in that order. That's one thing we don't have control over. I don't talk about when you become a mother or when you get married. I say, well, if you find somebody, if you choose that, if that's something you want for yourself, but understand that you can have a beautiful life without all that. And people think I'm being catty by saying this. It's like there were 10 years when I couldn't stand my husband.
42% of Black women have never been married. That's double the number of never married white women.
I look forward to the day. I look forward to being married.
It's just not that easy. For starters, there are more Black women than Black men. 1.8 million more. So even if every Black man in America married a Black woman today, 1 out of 12 still wouldn't make it down the aisle. Let's take 100 Black men. If you eliminate those without a high school diploma, those without a job, and the number of Black men between the ages of 25 and 34 who are incarcerated, that leaves only about half of Black men eligible to pop the question. What we looked at were the large numbers of professional Black women who groomed themselves for success with BAs, MDs, and JDs. 70% of them are still without the more elusive title, MRS.
I would be lying if I said that I don't have fleeting thoughts of, okay, I'm 32, my clock is ticking.
The tick-tock of the biological clock is getting louder for several of Nicole's single friends. Meet Chateau Waters. She's a 32-year-old high school counselor pursuing a doctorate degree in psychology.
We have this thing called the Black girl curse. A lot of our white friends are married by 25, like happily married. Kids by 27, and we're like, what is the deal with the BGs? You know, and it's the Black girls.
Jaqueen Ashford is a chemist for a pharmaceutical company. Now that she's 34, she's lowered the bar when it comes to height requirements.
I don't have a certain criteria, like if you're not 6'5", and I used to, but then as I got older, I said, okay, well maybe if you're 6'3", 6'2", 6'1", okay, maybe we could see eye to eye. I kind of have certain standards that I hold myself to, and I don't feel like I should have to settle on those for the sake of having somebody. I'm willing to wait.
Like many Black men, she's also open to dating outside her race. In fact, in the past decade, the number of Black women entering interracial marriage has more than doubled.
In fact, last night, was at a restaurant, had a great conversation with this Caucasian gentleman. I mean, we were vibing, we were clicking. I'm thinking, he's gonna ask for my number. White men never ask for my number. And he was like, all right, well, great conversation, you know, maybe I'll see you around. And I was thinking, what happened?
Ask for his.
No.
Bossy Black girl.
We're maybe not as coveted as Black men in society.
Melinda Watson is a 28-year-old payroll specialist. She hasn't had an exclusive relationship since college.
I just feel that there's a lot of taboo associated with dating Black women because I don't think they're necessarily going to want to take us home to see mama.
The consensus in this group was that their preference is to marry a Black man. It's not that they can't find one to date. The issue in many cases is exclusivity.
You meet these great guys, you have good relationship, good rapport, and then it's almost like, I'm gonna keep you around and hopefully when I'm ready to settle down, you'll be there.
That's the back pocket girl.
The back pocket girl.
And every now and then they'll check in with you to make sure you're still single.
You're not married yet, are you still single? You still waiting on me? No, not really.
Chateau hasn't been in a committed relationship in more than a decade.
If you have 4 quality women that you're dating and, they're in rotation, I mean, who's going to rush into a marriage?
We decided to ask Mr. Harvey for advice. He listened as we asked our single ladies about their requirements.
I had a list of about 50 things that I would keep in my Bible. It's now down to about 10.
Honesty,
Supportive, financially stable.
Now, granted, I'm 31, so he needs to be at a certain stage.
What do you consider a deal breaker?
If there's not that initial chemistry, it's never going to work. I don't care if you have every quality on my list.
I'm not going to talk to you if I'm not attracted to you.
Right.
Are they asking too much? While these women look forward to settling down, they're not willing to settle.
The one thing that I can't control is a man choosing to marry me, and so I choose not to worry about it.
Being that I've waited so long, I can't settle now. It's not an option for me.
I would love to be in a relationship, a marriage, but I don't feel that defines me. So if I don't find the perfect person for me, then I'll just remain single.
I ain't got no nigga because I'm such a real nigga myself. And you niggas be like bitch ass niggas, like real deal bitches, like bitch. That's what you is, a bitch. And I would call a nigga a bitch so fast, like that's why like I ain't got no nigga because I curse niggas out like bitch. Little ass bitch ass nigga, like little ass bitch. Ho.
Sorry, I heard some of y'all didn't get the memo, so I'm here to just, reiterate it.
These niggas are narcissists! Run! Run for your life! They're trying to take your light! It's fuel! They're vampires! They're fucking vampires! Run! Oh my god, the devil's in your house! Run!
I think Black women have to recognize that they're being lied to. Like, there has to be a come to Jesus moment where they are fully in acceptance that majority of the messaging that they've heard since they were little girls was meant to completely destroy them. Completely destroy them. It's not lost to me that Black women are always getting messages about how they are empowered or they're doing better than their men and their goddesses and their queens. And I understand, right, in a society where you may feel like you're not the beauty standard or colors and textures and featureism, like I get it. In a society where you don't feel like you are the standard to a certain extent, there is going to be a reaction that says, listen, in order to push against this negative messaging, I am going to now embrace something that gives me value. I understand that. But many of the things that we are encouraged to embrace and hold on to are the very things that are actually destroying who we are and destroying God's intention for us. I mentioned earlier that there is this really weird and strange fascination with the single Black woman. It is strange, and I'm starting to believe it is downright demonic, because when you understand the context in which these messages are coming out, we are seeing that not only is it not leading to any real institutional change for Black women, it's actually harming them. It's actually harming them collectively on a mass scale. We'll start off with the statue, right? This statue, this 12-foot huge, iconic, godlike statue that has been erected in the middle of Times Square for the whole world to see, that says, hey, see, the average Black woman is being immortalized. Not just like, not a hero or not somebody who we know has done something that has been instrumental to humanity. No, the average Black woman, that's what we saw depicted in that statue. The average Black woman, we're going to now pedestalize and put in a place of being almost beyond human. I saw words such as being immortalized, right? Being given veneration, given honor, making sure that she is bigger than life, bigger than your average human, that it's very clear that, hey, she stands in a level that nobody else does. It is not lost to me that is happening at the exact same time Black women lost more jobs than anybody else in the United States of America. Black women are being told, oh, you're impervious. Wow, you're powerful. Wow, you can do things all by yourself. No men around. And then at the same time, they're losing their jobs. At the same time, they're losing the small sense of security that they think that they had. At the same time. And then now, lo and behold, I just saw this article being promoted by Tina Knowles, the matriarch, where she's talking about how powerful and how much better her life was when she decided to leave her husband. And not because he was abusive or because he was having affairs or because for anything. She just deserved better. How often are we hearing messages that Black women are better off alone? How often? And I mentioned that earlier in a message this week where I said, why does it seem like Black women are always being told that they're better off when they're by themselves, when they're apart from their men? And then if they are with a man, they're making sure that you know that they're not happy with him. Look at Michelle Obama, that new podcast now where she's always throwing pot shots somehow, or at least she's making it very clear that she's not happy. But she's making it very clear that the whole world knows that she's had a lot of discontentment in her marriage and in the choices that she's made. She's talked about this openly, and she's even gone as far as to say, look, you don't need a marriage and kids to be happy. She's doing that, side eye, like, you don't need a marriage or kids to be happy, as if she actually would have been better off and happier without her own marriage. Their own. The most powerful, literally one of the most powerful Black women in the world. Literally one of. I'm not saying she is but one of the ones. One of the most influential, right? The former First Lady who was married to one of the, if not the most powerful man of the world at the time he was in presidency. Her going on podcasts and talking about, the challenges that she's had and how difficult it was not being seen. Sometimes she didn't really like her husband, and sometimes she didn't really want to see him, and she questioned him and she didn't believe in him. Like, her going on and saying that. What is the underlying message? Black woman, you are better off alone. All these men are doing is just slowing you down, keeping you from yourself, keeping you from what you deserve. It is always Black women who are being used as the icons to promote that foolishness. Always. I'm not saying that other women don't fall into that propaganda, but it just seems like Black women somehow tend to be the mascots of it. And it's so frustrating because, again, as I said, this stuff is happening at the time that this nation is falling apart, that some of the institutional benefits that women have been able to latch on to in lieu of a family and men are being pulled from them. And they're still being told, oh, it's okay. It's okay. We got your little statue. See, you strong. See, you independent girl. We got you. We got you, Letitia. We got you, Big Shirley. That's what they're saying. Putting out messages. And here's the thing. They always like to use the celebrities. They always like to use the people that we look up to. The matriarch, right? You talk Miss Tina Knows, she's the matriarch. She was this daughter who's built this big empire. And she's obviously been very instrumental in her daughter's life. And she has her own personality. She has her own thing. But the world, we're making sure that, although she has that position, that the men in her life had nothing to do with it. Like, we just need y'all to get the answer that you can reach this level of success, and we'll reach this level of success irregardless of the men. Like, we need to make sure that you know that. And they will choose any celebrity out there to promote any kind of BS message possible. And listen, I'm going to sit here and say it's BS because there is no way in hell that a woman can operate outside of her God-given design and purpose. There is no way in hell a woman can operate in rebellion and sit here and tell me and act like she's happy. No way in hell. Unless she's actually being actively used by the devil, which some of these people are. I understand some of these celebrities are legitimately being used by the devil, who are legitimately being used by the enemy, right? Who are legitimately being used by people who have agendas to destroy you. And they're being paid handsomely for it. So I understand that happens, but I'm like, there's no way that you could actually operate against your God-given design and then sit here and convince me that you're optimum. No one is going to convince me of that. So again, what I am not saying is that you have to necessarily just be married, and that by nature of you being married, that means that you're going to have a happy-go-lucky, carefree life. No. What I am saying is that the lie that says that marriage or connection or interdependence to any man, marriage, interdependence to any community, that includes men, is somehow holding you back. That you are the best when you are free of the constraints of spirituality, free of the constraints of accountability, free of the constraints of male guidance or male input in any way, shape, or form. Because that is the message that we always get. And that's the message we will continue to get. And that's the message that I believe is actually leading to the destruction and the demise of many women. Because there's actually a lot of men out there who would benefit from the input of God-given men. I'm not saying every man. I understand some men out there need to work on themselves, right? I understand that. But I'm saying interdependence is so much better than this toxic hyper independence that we've seen. And I'm so tired of hearing women go online and lie or use their 1,001% lifestyle as the norm and be painted as the norm when that lifestyle is rebellious and goes against what God intended. I'm sorry. Look, don't don't shoot the messenger, right? And listen, I say this because as a Christ follower, somebody who actually reads the Bible and believes in it, I understand that there are actually certain principles that God says. And black women, listen, black women to this day they will still sit there and tell you, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, I'm a church girl, all that, you know what I mean? All that. We'll still sit there and tell you and say that, but actually don't fully understand God's principles and then don't always understand the ways in which they destroy or they undermine their own success when they live contrary to God's principles. And I'm here to tell you that the messages that you are getting on a day-to-day message, 9.5 times out of 10 are actually going against what God intended for you. At this point, if you're listening to media or anything about how to get your values, how to even look for men, how to define success, any of that stuff, any of the world system, when the Bible, right, when the Bible says, do not love the world and the things of this world, he's telling you, God already knew this was going to happen. He's telling you, if you look to the world that actually wants to destroy you to get your values, you will be destroyed. Instead, look to me, look to my principles, look to the way that I have designed you because I know what's best for you. Like this is literally what God says. He's like, turn to me. If you repent, if you actually turn to me and you actually learn of my ways and allow me to teach you my ways and what I created for and reveal to you your true identity, then you're supposed to have some success. Then you actually start to thrive. You won't feel like you are just running around always trying to catch up to something that's not there. You won't be in an illusion. You won't feel like you're always behind somebody else. You're always lesser than the white woman or lesser than that person or lesser than. You won't feel like you're constantly trying to fight to find yourself in this world. Because you don't find yourself, you don't define yourself based upon values that were never meant for you. I mean, if we actually practiced and started to embrace the God that many of us say we believe in, we would have better results. But I have to be very clear that just because somebody says that they believe or that they are of God or a church or whatever, just because they says that they have their own spiritual journey does not mean that they're promoting messages that are actually out here to empower you. Because many of them are just lying. And many of them actually are using spiritual means, but they're using spiritual means that are dark and spiritual means that are actually to your demise. And I would argue that based upon the evidence and based upon the way that the community has gone and the trajectory of Black men has gone over the last few decades, we can be very clear that the standard of culture has only been for the deterrent and for the detriment of Black women and her family. And some of y'all, you would be like, okay, it's over. Grabbing your passports. I get it. I understand that there's going to be some people who are going to have this go and when they're out there, that's fine. That's completely fine. This is not for everybody. But if nothing else, I'm just letting y'all know where I'm at. You know what I mean? It needs to be said. If a few decades people look back and they're like, what happens? They need to know that somebody was out here telling them telling them the truth. Anyways, y'all, y'all, I was in my feelings. I don't even lie. I saw that article from Miss Tina Knowles and I'm like, why are we lying to women? Why are we lying to women? Why are we sitting up here continuing to lie to them as they are literally struggling living in their car, stranded for days, don't have food, don't have air conditioning, don't have heat, don't have a place to stay, don't have no help, sad, struggling, depressed, high blood pressure. And then I'm going to sit there and lie to them and say, go girl, you got this queen, you got this queen. Look at you, we got you a statue, we got you a statue. Yes, girl, yeah. Why are we lying to Black women? Why are we lying to them? Why are we lying to them? Why? You gotta stop lying. You gotta stop lying. Some of y'all don't take life seriously enough. That's the problem. Because life is chewing you out. It's trying to destroy your soul. It's trying to destroy all aspects of you. Evidence of it is clear. You know what, y'all? That's what I got. What y'all think? Let me know down in the comment section. Bye.